while ago, Julia got it into her head that I needed to improve my manners. We went to a dog training class. I wasn't really into the whole sit and stay and do the tango stuff. The worst command of all, the truly inexcusable, only a human could come up with it order: leave it. Leave it means walk on by, Bob. Sure, there's a piece of bacon just inches from your drooling pie hole, but do me a favor and just pretend it's not there, okay? Not okay. Where I come from, you never pass up a free meal. UFO drops to the carpet, it's mine. And I'll be chowing it down before you can say, "Where is my meatball?" Within minutes, I was accused of being an unmotivated student, which is totally unfair. I am highly motivated. Just show me some cheese, please. Anyways, I may or may not have been a little unruly. Class clown stuff, tail spinning, a little random peeing, some zoomies, just for show. "Class, you see that crazy dashing around he's doing?" said the teacher, pointing at me with an accusing finger. "We call that a FRAP, frantic random activity, period." She pulled Julia aside. "He's a smart dog," she said, "but he's messing with you." Which was true, but I hated getting caught in the act. I thought I was more subtle. "Bob needs to know who's boss," said the teacher. "He needs to see you as pack leader. Give him some time. I see this a lot with former strays. Takes them a while to trust people. Like forever in my case." As we left the class early, I yelled, "So long, suckers," to my classmates. Couldn't help rubbing it in just a little. I suppose the real reason for the training stuff isn't my bad manners, although they leave a bit to be desired. It's my car thing. I've always had a hang-up about cars and trucks, also riding lawnmowers, go-karts, anything with 4 wheels, an engine, and a driver. Don't like them. Don't want to ride them. Don't want anything to do with them. Those co-pilot dogs with their heads hanging out the window, flying their drool flags, boneheads. First of all, it ain't safe. And second of all, bad stuff can happen after you climb into a car. Take it from me. When Julia and George and Sarah realized I have transportation issues, they tried to lure me into the back seat of their car with treats. But you'd be surprised how stubborn I can be. I yelped so loud the neighbors came running out to see what was happening to the poor little doggie. Score 1 for the poor little doggie. That's when they started clicker training me. Click, here's a treat. Come closer to the car, Bob. Click, here's a treat. Watch while I open the car door, Bob. Click, here's a treat. Come right up to the seat, Bob. Click, here's a treat. Come on in, Bob. Bob? Bob! Where are you, Bob? Yeah, it was like that a lot. Still haven't been in a car or a truck or a tractor for that matter. When I have to go to the rhymes with pet, threat, Julia and her parents walked me there. They say elephants have long memories. Well, so do dogs, people. It's not like I'm afraid. I'm just exercising my options. "Are you ready to head over to the park?" George asks as he passes through the living room. He's carrying 2 flashlights and a roll of masking tape. "Yep," Julia says, and I do a head tilt to show I'm intrigued by the conversation. The place where Ivan and Ruby live is called Wild World Zoological Park and Sanctuary, but everybody just calls it the park. George works at the park as head groundskeeper, which means I've got some sway, and everyone who's employed there loves Julia. "Give me a minute, I just need to grab my coat," says George. "Straight home after that, though, Julia," says Sarah, "just in case the weather gets worse. One minute the weatherman's saying we're going to have a little shower. Next minute, it's the storm of the century." Julia scratches my head. "I thought Hurricane Gus wasn't coming till tomorrow." "Well, sometimes they change course," says Sarah. "They can be unpredictable." "You know," George says with a wink, "in the old days, they only named hurricanes after women." Julia groans. "That is so sexist." "It's not just the wind that I'm worried about on this one," George says. "It's the storm surge that could be a problem." flooding. Julia tries to make me wear her mom's latest creation, a knitted dog sweater with security written on it, which I suppose is an ironic reference to my petite size. I politely decline. All right, you win, Julia sighs. Ready for your walk, Bob? At the mention of the word walk, I go all crazy mutt, so it's clear I'm on board with the idea. Humans love it when we get silly. I think they're so weighed down by people problems that sometimes they need to be reminded what happy looks like. Julia attaches my string. I try for a little tug of war, but she refuses to buy it. Let's go see Ivan and Ruby, she says. Just hearing those names sends my tail into full wag. I've never met a dog who didn't get a big old grin on his kisser when Walk slipped into a conversation. Dogs understand more than you might think. The Nature Channel says we're about as smart as the average human toddler. 2-year-olds, my fuzzy rump, were 1,000,000 times brainier than some babbling rugrat. There was a dog on that Man's Best Friend show who supposedly understood like 1,000 human words. A border collie, I think. Those guys need to switch to decaf. The narrator was gushing about this wonder dog, and I'm like, well, duh, Brainiac. Of course we understand people. Not everything, mind you, and some of us are more attentive than others. Depends a lot on just how interesting your human happens to be. Certain words will really cause our ears to perk up. The classics: treat, walk, frisbee, bacon. And don't forget the swear words: vet, bath, fireworks, vacuum cleaner. We always hear those. Julia and I wait by the front door while George says goodbye to Sarah. I think maybe the hardest thing for me about being domesticated, a pet if you insist, is that I can't control my own schedule. If I had my way, I'd hang out with Ivan and Ruby all day, every day. Unfortunately, humans love their clocks. Dogs, we use the sky to tell time. Like any sensible creature, sky says it's dawn, time to eat. It's noon, time to eat. It's afternoon, time to eat. It's dusk, time to eat. Midnight, time to eat. Point is, it's always time to eat. Dogs have a thing for the moon too, like wolves and coyotes and our other relatives. No calendars for us. Moon looks like a claw. Moon looks like half a pancake. Moon looks like a tennis ball. Moon looks like a claw again. Oh, a chunk of time has passed. But humans, nope, that's not enough. It's not a chunk, it's a month. It's not just dawn, it's 6:32 a.m. on a Thursday, and boy, oh boy, we'd better hurry up and go to school, or the office, or change the baby. But who gives a woof about feeding the poor, starving, sad-eyed, grumbling, tummied dog? After a spell, I got used to the comings and goings of Julia and her mom and dad. But it keeps changing. Julia leaves early for school and is gone most of the day. She returns home excited and energized, good sense mostly. But every now and then she comes back smelling a little like me after a visit to the dog trainer, battle-weary and ready to crawl under the covers. Sarah, who was pretty sick for a while, is feeling fine again, thank goodness. But she went back to work and she's away all day too. And George, who has a job at Ivan's place, works 5, sometimes 6 days a week. That means it's just me and the guinea pigs a lot of the time. I have a doggy door and an outside run, but it's not the same as touring the neighborhood with your person. Peeing without a potential audience is like talking to yourself. Sometimes I'm the teensiest bit jealous of Ivan and Ruby. They always have someone around. Which is crazy, I know. I'm free and they're not, but there it is. Told you I'm not a saint. I know our route to Ivan and Ruby by heart, and I can't help tugging a bit, even though I'm not supposed to. It's been a couple of days since I've seen my pals, and I need my friend fix, like I need air, and water, and belly rubs. We don't live far. Down to the end of the street, around a corner, good news source there, then a few more blocks. When I walk Julia, well, okay, I suppose it looks like she's walking me, but I beg to differ. There's a place we pass that always makes me jumpy and bummed. It's the animal shelter. And I know it's a good place, a space for pets who don't have a safe home of their own. When I was abandoned on the highway, just a few weeks old, a nice cage with a soft towel in it and a bowl of fresh water, well, I would have given just about anything for that. Still, when I walk by and hear all those desperate barks and meows and squeaks, it gets to me. Sometimes having great hearing is a pain. Thing is, I realize I have a home, and the gang in there doesn't. And I try not to think about stuff like that, you know? I mean, it's not like it can do anything about their tough breaks, right? And in fairness, maybe those animals aren't like me. I've always been a resilient, hardworking sort. Maybe some of those guys even made their own bad luck. Don't get me wrong, I try to be a nice guy. I do what I can to make the world a better place, sure. Chat with the guinea pigs, lick the strawberry jelly off Julia's hand, do my wag and dance when the wrens come home to make them feel good. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. But it's like I said before, you gotta look out for numero uno. Guess that's why the shelter harshes my mellow. It's just, I'd rather not have to hear those guys every time I walk by. Makes me sad. Reminds me of the bad old days. I knew this guy back when I hung out at the mall with Ivan and Ruby. A nice dog named Drulius. A basic mutt. Maybe some lab and golden in there somehow. He'd done some hard time at a couple of shelters. One of those dogs, you knew had seen more than his share of the bad stuff the world can throw your way. One ear bitten off, scars, a limp. Drulius lived in his backyard, winter, spring, summer, fall. Chained up mostly, flies on his food, empty water bowl way too often. Still, he always had a nice word to say when I'd pass him on my daily rounds, checking out the neighborhood trash cans. Once I saw his owner, again that word, step onto the back porch. Drulius was barking, but he had a good reason. A stranger had just passed by. Barking is what we're supposed to do in that circumstance, right? Maybe he's the UPS guy. Maybe he's a serial killer. I mean, come on, we're not the FBI. So anyways, owner came out, big guy, mean looking, gave Drulius a hard kick with his boot and yelled, "Be quiet, you fool," and disappeared. Drulius looked at me kind of embarrassed. We kept talking. A few minutes later, the owner came out again, put some towels on a line. Drulius headed over, tail between his legs, cowering, saying, "I'm sorry, I love you, I'm yours, yours, yours," with his whole dog bean. I completely ignored him, headed back inside. "He's having a tough time," said Drulius when the guy was gone. "He's a jerk," I said, because subtlety is not my strong point. "No, he loves me, he does." "Well, he has a funny way of showing it." "Humans," said Drulius, licking a sore on his leg. "You know how they can be." "Oh, do I ever? But we gotta stay true. Love 'em, forgive 'em." Thought about that. Thought about it a lot. "Why, though?" I finally asked. "Why do we have to forgive them?" Drulius looked shocked, then confused, as if I'd just asked why cheese tastes good. "It just does." "Well, that's the way it is," he said. "That's what we do, Bob." I started to reply, but I managed to hold my tongue, which is not easy for me. It's a very long tongue with a mind of its own. There was no point in making Drulius feel worse than he already did. Later that morning, I found half a turkey sandwich, gave the whole thing to him. Well, okay, I had a taste first, but still. Seems like forgiving humans is one of those doggy things we're all supposed to do, like having zoomies or doing bed boogies. It's written into our canine souls. Well, somehow I didn't get the memo, the one that apparently went out to every other dog on the planet about forgiveness. Why should I forgive the humans who tossed me and my siblings out into the night? When you forgive, you lose your anger. And when you lose your anger, you get weak. And when you're weak, you can get hurt all over again.